Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
so today we're going to talk about the inside of a eukaryotic cell, and specifically organelles. So eukaryotic cells have these specialized compartments that are called organelles, and they have very specific jobs, and we're going to talk about each compartment and the jobs that they do for the cell.
So some cells have what we call a cell wall around the outside of the cell, and cell walls are found in plant cells and some protist cells, and they provide protection and support for the cell.
And fungal cells. Right?
And fungal cells.
Some.
True.
So the cell membrane is the outer layer of a cell. If the cell has a cell wall, it would be inside the cell wall. It is the boundary between the outside of the cell and the inside of the cell, and it keeps all of the cell parts inside, and then it also controls what can go in and out of the cell.
So next is the cytoplasm, and the cytoplasm is the watery environment that all the organelles kind of are suspended in. And if you look at this picture of the cell, it's all the blue area. It kind of reminds me of a water balloon, and the water inside the water balloon would be like the cytoplasm. It's where a lot of the nutrients are and a lot of where the chemical reactions take place in this watery environment.
Part of that cytoplasm is made up of a cytoskeleton, and the cytoskeleton gives the cell a shape and a structure inside the cell. It also allows the organelles to move around to different parts of the cell.
The nucleus is found in eukaryotic cells, and it is where all of the DNA for the cell is stored. The nucleus is kind of like the control center of the cell. It kind of directs everything and all of the functions and things that happen in the cell. Here's a picture of the cell nucleus. You can see that there are different parts of the cell nucleus, and you can see that inside there's DNA, which is in the chromosomes. There's a nuclear envelope, which is kind of like the membrane around the nucleus, and yeah.
So this nucleus would be in the center of the cell or somewhere inside the cell, and it's usually the biggest organelle of the cell.
Floating
The easiest
around.
to see. Yeah.
So the smooth ER, it's smooth because it does not contain any ribosomes like the rough ER does. And the smooth ER also helps produce lipids. Want to do the rough?
So the rough ER, like Mr. Pappas said, has ribosomes on the outside, and its major function is to help transport proteins.
You guys can see that from in this diagram that the both endoplasmic reticula are attached to the nucleus. So ribosomes are found in two different places in the cell. There are ribosomes on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and there's also ribosomes just floating around in the cytoplasm. And ribosomes are the factories where proteins are made.
The Golgi apparatus is a membrane-bound organelle inside the cell. It helps kind of repackage proteins into, kind of changes their shapes and combines different proteins together to do whatever their final function is.
Vesicles. Vesicles are basically made up of the same material that a cell membrane is made up of. It's made up of phospholipids. And what vesicles are, they are transporters. They transport things around the cell, so things get packaged inside a vesicle, and the vesicle takes it to where it has to go.
Lysosomes are
Awesome.
They are awesome.
They are vesicles.
They are vesicles.
And they also have digestive enzymes, which they know about.
Oh, they do? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lysosome is a special vesicle in a cell. What's funny?
Everything.
Everything is funny. Lysosomes are special vesicles in cells. So they have a membrane, and inside of the membrane are digestive enzymes. You should remember digestive enzymes from our floating Chad's lab. And
hit that truth button.
So lysosomes travel around the cell, and they can help break down big things into smaller molecules. So they can break down dead or used up organelles or pieces of food. Anything else?
Whole cells.
Lysosomes can break down whole cells. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
Everybody's favorite.
Mm-hmm. Not mine. Mine's the Golgi.
So another organelle inside of some cells is something that we call a vacuole. And a vacuole is a storage organelle. So again, it has a membrane on it. It's floating around inside the cell, and it's used for storing materials that the cell will need later. Water mostly, right?
Water, food.
Yeah, food vacuole, water vacuole. Next is the mitochondria. This also is known as the powerhouse of the cell. This is where all the energy the cell needs is made.
It's got its own DNA.
Has its own DNA. Has its own membrane. It's membrane bound.
Double membrane.
Double membrane.
2 membranes.
Double rainbow.
All the way. Speaking of double membranes.
And DNA.
And DNA. Chloroplast is another organelle that has a double membrane and its own DNA that's found in some cells. So chloroplasts are green. They take sunlight energy and turn it into chemical energy that a cell is able to use. So we would find this in plants.
Plants.
Protists.
Protists. Some bacteria.
Protists, some bacteria.
Wait, no, they don't have chloroplasts. They do it in another way.
Some bacteria
Doesn't
do not have
cyanobacteria?
chloroplasts. No. Not. So we find this in plants and protists, and that's it.
Yep.
Not in animals.
Some cells have flagella. Flagella are at the very back of that. I guess you can't tell what the back is.
Left side.
Well, maybe we can
Well,
point
maybe
to it.
you can say it's a whip. Yeah.
On that side of the cell, there's kind of a thread-like structure. A flagella is used by a cell to move around. So it will kind of whip back and forth and move that cell around.
Do all cells have flagella?
No, not all cells have flagella.
That's too bad.
It is too bad.
Yeah, I like flagellas. It's like pony hair.
Speaking of pony hair.
Last is cilia. Cilia is also a way that cells move around, and they are like little finger-like projections that go all around the cell, like little hairs, and they whip back and forth to move the cell.
They remind me of the villi in the small intestine, like the
True
little
that.
hairs.
Yeah,
But these are on the outside.
it's another great connection.